Thank you very much. Weather is hot, and as you mentioned, and plants may be drying out, but there is a solution to that with drought-resistant plants that will continue to grow even through the dry season. And KEZI 9 News morning anchor Chelsea Deffenbacher has more in this week's In the Garden, sponsored by Johnson Brothers Garden Market.
I'm here with Caleb Johnson out at Johnson Brothers Garden Market, and today we're going to be talking about drought-resistant plants. So can you share a little bit about what makes a plant drought-resistant?
Yeah, so drought-resistant plants are really good at maximizing water intake and minimizing the water evaporating. So I brought a few of my favorite ones, and each one has a different way that it kind of keeps itself drought resistant. So as we kind of go through each one, we can kind of show people how these plants end up actually being drought resistant.
Okay, so what's the first thing you want to look for?
So let's look at Gaillardia, these blanket flowers. Now these put on extremely vigorous roots. So this is one that's not that old of a plant, and you can see the root ball is just going crazy. So don't put these in a container because the whole container will just turn into a mass of roots. You want to put these in the ground. These are really good at finding water. And then also you can see they have kind of a fuzzy leaf. Fuzzy leaves are good for pulling in moisture from the air and holding moisture in the plant as well. So that's kind of what makes Gaillardia drought resistant.
All right, and what's the next one?
So sedums, I think a lot of people are familiar with sedums. They've got the nice waxy leaves, the big stems, so they're really good at just retaining water. And waxy, thick leaves also don't let water evaporate. So the water holds in the leaves for a very long time, which makes them drought resistant.
Now I can smell the lavender here. Can you talk about what makes that a drought resistant plant?
Yeah, so lavender, it doesn't have a big root system. What makes it drought, one of the things that makes it drought resistant is it just doesn't need a lot of water, and it doesn't lose a lot of water. So anytime you see like these gray or kind of silverish leaves, that's going to repel light. So instead of light getting absorbed and pulling out moisture, lavender is actually reflecting light back, which helps it keep water in the leaves and stems. And you can also notice the leaves on lavender are extremely small. So plants with extremely small leaves also don't need as much water.
Okay. And what about these guys over here? They look like lavender, but they're not.
Yeah, so that's Russian sage, and it works very similar to lavender. The silver gray foliage and stems, and the small leaves, again, same principle as lavender for, being drought resistant.
Okay, what about this one?
Yeah, so salvias, we've got a few different salvias here. Again, they have fuzzy leaves, and they have small leaves. And if you notice, most salvias do kind of have a gray-ish or lighter green tinge to them. So again, just reflecting light, smaller leaves, and those not a big root system on those, but those other factors help it to not lose as much water and need as much water.
All right, well that's going to do it for In the Garden. Back to you in the studio.